Yeah. Oh, we're good to go? Yeah. All right. Welcome everybody to the Old Town Academy School Advisory Board meeting, November 17th, 6 p.m. We will start off the meeting with roll call and then pledge allegiance. James Gartman, President, I'm here. Zach Davis. There. Mark Sally. Chris Kanzler will be joining us virtual. Topher.
Here on the Zoom.
Kristen.
Here.
Jeremy Turner.
Yep.
Jen. Okay. Walker McBride. Here. Bob Hand. Here. Sarah Cook.
Here.
Sydney Tobias.
Here.
And Dash. All right. Perfect. All right. We have quorum, so we'll get started. Dash, will you take us out and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. We will open it up for public comment. Do we have any public comments? Oh, all right. Then we will open it up to board member comments.
I have a few little comments.
Excellent.
Just three little quick updates. I had told everybody that yesterday, Dr. Reyes Cazala, was the head of the Department for Learning, Teaching and Learning at Souls, was going to be meeting with newly hired principal Laura Rodrigo. That meeting didn't happen. Something came up with him, but we will reschedule as soon as possible. I'll let you know what comes of it. But I think that what my impression at the time was that the upshot from that was I got to meet with Laura and was just duly impressed and sort of reinforced my own general impression that we are heading in a really positive direction. And so thanks to James who landed that. Thanks to Chris who looked over the contract. Great team effort. Circling back to Dash and Sydney, we've also put in, I believe, a sort of stopgap measure for the Wi-Fi system here. Christian has installed it, so you should not be getting kicked off any longer in these rooms. Thank you for bringing that up, and things actually get done when you squeaky wheel does get their grease, right? And quick update on the USD Foundation Relations Office is that I have been, I guess, granted the keys to the kingdom there a little bit, insofar as the Foundation Relations Office has granted me permission to run all of our own reports if we would like to. So if we want to run a report on all of the foundations that will grant schools of a certain type, if we want to do a certain type of thing in this region, whatever it might be, I'm now able to do that. So once we get the ball rolling on other strategic areas.
That's related to grants.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
I have one item, and it's not a positive item like all of Topher's wonderful ones, but we've been hearing a lot, I think, a couple of times in these meetings, and then just kind of around the school about some real challenges with the boys' bathroom in particular being treated quite poorly. And in a coincidence, my wife was listening to a podcast on which it was mentioned that there is actually a nationwide problem with this due to a TikTok challenge to mess up your school bathroom, and thus, and videotape it and and put it on the internet. So we're not alone in facing this. I looked into it a little bit. I'm not on TikTok, but I was able to find other articles relating to it, and it is an ongoing problem across schools, middle schools, high schools, all around the country. And so to the point where some schools are even posting a staff member outside of a bathroom, having students go in one at a time, and then coming out and then having the bathroom checked afterwards. I mean, it's pretty, because it's gotten pretty grotesque. Obviously, we're a small enough community where I don't know that would be necessary, but perhaps from the administration, we could hear some discussion of how to combat something like a TikTok challenge to basically ruin a facility at the school.
Yeah, I know about that trend, but that's not really happening here. Like, I've heard of tiny things like maybe a little bit of toilet paper, but not, I've seen things where people taking a whole toilet. And I think the problem here is they're just like really dirt, like not people messing them up, but we're like overall they haven't been cleaned properly maybe.
I mean, I could, the only time I've been in here, adults are not supposed to go in here, so it was the last board meeting, and it was an emergency, so. But one of the two urinals was cordoned off, apparently had toilet paper like shoved down it. One of the two toilets, same thing, and the second one, the one working one, had a stall door that wouldn't close. In there was a large picture of some genitals with gum stuck all over it. That was 2 weeks ago. So I don't know if that had been.
No, it's an issue. Pablo has been dealing with trying to keep the bathrooms not only clean, but the toilet paper has been, a huge amount has been stuffed in toilets, and that's why they're breaking. So it's not necessarily that it's like a lack of getting cleaned, because he's doing his best. It's like an ongoing thing that we have, and he has been struggling.
And this is not like last year. This wasn't an issue, or it's.
No, it's more so this year for sure. Mhm.
And restrooms are a major problem and always have been in schools, And Pablo is on top of this. He's trying to get into each restroom at least once an hour now. And we've maybe narrowed it down to the grades that we need to focus on. And it's not these upper grades doing TikTok stuff. No.
It
So-
is also happening upstairs too.
More
Which I was
upstairs
curious
than
about that, but
downstairs.
Yeah, I knew the trend that was going on, but if it's happening in the K or the 1 through 3 as well, I was curious about that too.
I know I've heard some complaints about the upstairs as well, some broken toilet seats potentially. And
Yeah, that's where we are keeping a very close eye on
Right.
that one. Yeah.
Yep, and I think we addressed some of the plumbing type issues. I think they got addressed. There was a gigantic bid on repairing and getting our plumbing taken care of. And Natalie, through diligence, found somebody who could handle it and gave us a realistic bid and realistic assessment for what was going on. So there was a lot of discussion of like, hey, some of this is behind, but I don't think it's a plumbing issue. Right now, I feel like the plumbing is actually working well and is working appropriate, and it's a kind of a maintenance issue, and the fact that we're getting somebody there once an hour is, I don't know what much more you can do. I do know my kids come home and their bathrooms are at the high school are not usable after about the first 2 hours of the day. So it's certainly a trend, unfortunately.
And not to get in the weeds of it too, but like I picked up my boys today and 9:30 and they got vaccination shots. But anyway, when I came back, there was a sanitation truck here. Is that,
They're doing
Those are for the hand washing.
the hand washing.
okay,
They're
so
here.
that's not like a monthly or it's just for the hand washing?
It's just for those hand washing stations. That's the only reason they're here.
Got it, okay, thanks for clarifying.
We have obviously talked to the principal advisory board students, so maybe they can be of some sort of support to pass down the some sort of information to their classmates and try to help talk them into doing better at it. Maybe that, because I'm sure there's a lot of use, but at the same time, it sounds like Pablo is, on top of it. This is not just hasn't been sanitized or cleaned, properly situation. I think that it should probably be a little bit more on top of it.
Right. Well, any more comments, correspondence?
I have one more comment.
Yes, sir.
In the last week or so, I've spoken with a couple of families, just a complaint that had come up and just kind of checking in, and the request has been made to take a look at how we're storing lunches so that kids aren't putting lunches on the ground where there's fear of stepping on them or getting dirty or what have you, that either we have more shelving or more space in the shelving for the lunches to be placed.
Also, fear of stepping on lunch.
It's, get your lunch stepped on this.
It's never good. Awesome. Well, I'm gonna go very positive. So yesterday, Laura showed up and it was meet and greet on the athletic field. And I'm gonna double down on Topher's comments and saying that this is a great team. A lot had to happen to get Laura on board. There was background checks, there was, recommendation, there was just a lot, and this team communicated and coordinated really well. And we have just a high caliber leader on our hands. It is, once we come back from the break, I think it is just going to be a little bit of a different vibe here. It was tough the way that Dr. Reed had to go and exit so quickly, but I think we're looking at a new horizon here and a dawn of something completely new. And Ms. Bendillo comes with just a different gear, a different perspective, and a huge number of accomplishments behind her. She is a charter school advocate. She is just an accomplished administrator. She has met with Mr. Ham and gone over extensively what's kind of going on here and trying to get a feel for this place. But you could already see her rolling up her sleeves on the athletic field, ready to get to work, kind of frothing a little bit. So I'll tell you this, I think it's going to be a nice breath of fresh air. It's going to be a nice thing to kind of lead us into the new year and maybe hit another gear on the way out of here. And hopefully, we nail this real estate deal at some point. She has extensive experience in building schools and taking things from a very small group to a way bigger group, and just has had great success, great economic success, and incredible business acumen, but never losing that sense of that the kids and the education is the most important thing. Something that she has said that it resonates with me is, if we can't do better than what is out there publicly, then what are we doing? Right? Which means she's poised and set to achieve excellence here at OTA. Her comments initially when I saw her yesterday was, what an incredible staff. just impressive, the comments and things they had to say. But on top of that, the kids and the community and the parents that she met. She's just is starting to really enjoy the homey feel of this place and the special place that this is. So with that, I would say we're on the verge of something really good and something new. So I can understand if people are nervous and have trepidation, but I can tell you with the utmost confidence, we have the best leader possible. And I'm really excited to see what's next for OTA. And I would be remiss if I didn't comment on what's going on this board, our connection to USD, Topher's efforts towards kind of building, making that merge and making that nexus there between the college and this K-8 school. It's awesome. And it's going to be great for this place. And I'm really excited. And as I'm looking at 6 or 7 more meetings till my term is done here, I'm starting to feel really good. I've always felt good about what the work I've done here and what's going on here, but I'm starting to feel really good about what's to come and the future for this place. So thank you all for that. And let's get to this meeting and see if I can get through it. That's it. Any more board comments? Perfect. Reports and presentations. Treasurer Josh and Michael Talbot.
Okay, so you'll see a couple things in the approval section of your agenda. The first one is approval of a revised budget. But after I spoke with Michael, he suggested that maybe we hold off on approving any new budgets, particularly just wait to see how the enrollment ADA shakes out, as well as with the new principal coming on board, maybe they'll have a say. So you'll see that in your approval item. I'm not presenting any new budget today, and there's no suggestion to approve on. So when you get to that, just make sure you write it off or whatever.
And as soon as she shows up, we'll get a meeting together very quickly to walk through all the numbers and then start getting her input and her ideas as well. But rather than us flying and Josh and Natalie and Bob and I saying, hey, this is what we're doing, we feel good about it, it'd be great to have her input as well.
Yeah, and I will say, through the experience of onboarding the new principal and discussions with her, she definitely has success with grants. I wouldn't promise anything, but I'll tell you that she's very well versed in budgets and very well versed in getting funding for charter schools. So I think it's a wise decision to punt and maybe look at it in January.
Yes, so that's the first thing. The second thing you will see on there, though, is the approval of the first interim. So this is required by the district. What the first interim is, it's your financials from July 1st through October 31st. It's this attachment I think you guys all have. As you can see, it's not the most user or reader friendly. It's just a template the district provides and expects the schools to use. So I put in all the numbers in here, and without going into too much detail, I'm just going to give you a brief update on what this means and how to read this. So if you turn over to this would be the third page. You should see something like this with the yellow line highlighted. And within that yellow line, you want to look at the thing that on the far right that says total budget and then total actuals to 10/31/2021. And about 1, 2, 3 notches above the yellow line, you're going to see the line says net increase, decrease in fund balance / net position, and that's C plus D4. And under the budget section, you're going to see negative 53,588. So what we're telling the district is we are changing the budget. The budget we last sent you guys has not been touched because the preliminary budget suggested that the school would end in a deficit for the year 53,588. Now, the flag that I want to tell you guys about is, if you'll recall, we budgeted about 265 enrollment with, you know, like 245 ADA or something like that off the top of my head. I can look, but I don't have numbers off the top of my head. But the last time I presented to you, the last proposed budget that I worked with Dr. Reed and Natalie, the school was running like 10 enrolled less and 10 ADA less. So that, if you do the simple math would be 10 ADA times $10,000 is $100,000 less in revenue. So I only bring that to your guys' attention because at this point, we're still telling the district we're running with the same budget. The issue though that everyone needs to know is, well, if you don't get those ADA numbers, that number could be a lot worse, and we may, or when the new principal gets here, we consider revising it. So I just want to make that clear. Does that make sense? Great. And then so really you're telling the district that, hey, we're submitting the same budget, we didn't revise it or anything. And then the second column, this is the total actuals through 10/31/2021. That says that the school currently, as of October 31st, is running at a deficit of $247,323. Now, that's not the biggest deal expense-wise. There's some things that are running high, but that's not the biggest deal. The biggest deal would be if the revenue doesn't hit at the end of the year, thus throwing off where your total budget could be. Does that make sense? So this is just an update for the district of how the school's doing and where it's at as of the first interim, and the board needs to review it and eventually approve it. So yeah, I cut through a lot of stuff on this doc just because I didn't feel like it was the most helpful, because it doesn't really project anything for you. It just tells you where you're at. But are there any questions on this?
Just to clarify, budget versus actual, so there's like a 190-ish delta, depending on if we revise that budget. Is my understanding the 53 versus the 247?
Okay, so yeah, the first section is the budget, so that's the one the board last approved. The second section is the actuals, meaning as of October, the school is currently at a negative. Those two, you wouldn't net those two together because the budget reflects the estimate for the whole year, while the actuals just reflect July through October.
Okay.
But what I was saying about the enrollment being down, potentially losing out on, I mean, who knows, but I'll say $100,000, then I think for the sake of this discussion, board will just have to mentally know, like, well, if we don't get enrollment and ADA up, then you might as well tack on at minimum $100,000 to the negative 53,588. So that's saying potential future budget could say negative $153,000.
Okay. Got it. It was looking like the negative was more based on the total actuals.
Right. Yeah. This doesn't really tell much as far as projection wise. It's just for the district.
Because that's actuals, meaning money's been spent, but money has yet been received.
Yes. Yes.
From a semantic standpoint, or just to keep track with your reports, enrollment, is that the same as attendance, or is there difference when it comes to the bottom line when we're down this much? Is it just because of enrollment, or is it because of attendance?
It's because of attendance. Enrollment technically doesn't really matter. It's just an easier way to kind of guess what your attendance could be. For example, if you have 300 enrolled and you just say 90% will attend, that gives you a better guess of your attendance. Does that make sense?
The ADA number is what matters, right? So to his point, we have 300 enrolled and we have 90% attendance, you get 270 kids that are here that you're getting the money for on a daily basis. Doesn't matter you have 300, what matters is you have 270 here for butts and seats. That makes sense.
Has the enrollment changed since last month? I know 8th grade added a couple students. I don't know whether.
Yeah.
It's changed a little bit. I'll go over it now.
That's it for me. I did see on the agenda the educator effectiveness.
It's on there, but we didn't do the template for it
Okay.
because we haven't been able to have a staff meeting, and then just like a top level,
Okay.
it could be items that we're already doing
Sure.
that we can like supplement,
Yeah.
not necessarily creating new spending.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. I mean, for the compliance piece of it, I don't think you actually needed to present that template,
okay.
but I think the general like talking to the board and saying, hey, we got this extra money, this is what we're gonna do with it. That way they can have input was all that was needed. So I don't know if you had a plan or anything.
I have a little bit, yeah.
Okay,
So I'll go for that latter part.
okay, great. Any questions on the first interim that we'll be sending the district? And you'll be approving later?
So it's fair to say we can budget for, build, staff, get all the materials for a school. But if you don't come to it, we can't keep the doors open.
Correct.
Is that an accurate statement regarding this budget?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. We want to discuss it? We're going to vote on it. I'd like to jump around a little bit on the agenda. So if we want to have a little discussion here, that's a presentation, but I would like to jump down and approve it. It is just Q1, so.
That seems like we're on track from where we said we would be, so no
Yeah.
surprises.
And I think what it's highlighting is the concerns we've been talking about for months.
Yeah.
Right, every meeting, we have the same concerns about enrollment and subsequently ADA. And so until that is, right, that's the check engine light that's on, that we've been talking about.
I would add to that, Josh. You're seeing this across the board, right? At a different schools, charter schools, public schools, otherwise. And Walker and I heard this the other day, talking to STUSD, like it's just, that's what's happening.
Correct.
Correct assessment.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this minority of schools haven't been affected, but the overwhelming majority is, yeah, at a decrease.
I know I've spoken to administrators in 2 other states, both of whom have said they're having exactly the same thing. So it's not just local San Diego or California, it is nationwide.
Josh, do you have any sense, without, I guess, naming names, but from your clientele, is there any sort of common thread linking the schools that have been less affected? Those that have more successfully dealt with that constellation of issues?
Without making a statement that is 100% true, it seems that the schools that are in lower financially demographic areas are doing better attendance wise. I don't know if that's a statement across the board, but of my schools that are doing well, they tend to be in areas where there's just less money. That's the way to say it.
Are you seeing any schools that are embracing technology and kind of trying to compensate with virtual?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, because there's not going to be, well, at this point, there's no safety net out there for like, hey, you guys didn't do well, here's money to bail you guys out, because that happened theoretically last year. So schools are definitely trying to do the work, the home thing. It's just, it's kind of a lot of work, and you have to have your staff on board for that. So, yeah.
All right. Well, if there's no more questions for Josh in his presentation, I would like to jump down to 5B. And I would like to vote on this while it's fresh in our minds and we're looking at. So with 5B, do I hear a motion to approve the interim Q1 budget?
Can I make a motion?
Yes, sir.
Great.
I'll second.
Excellent. All right, any more discussion on this? All right, we're gonna call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries unanimous. All right. Thanks, sir. Teacher liaison report. Ms. Sarah Fritz. What's that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is Chris real quick. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, technically I should have stayed on that vote because I didn't get the packet of materials. So I
Okay, so I'm gonna
I know
carry,
you got enough votes, but I'll mark myself as abstaining from that vote.
all right, I'm gonna carry you as an abstention, and please strike the
Thank you,
unanimous
sir.
comment. Thank you. All right, Ms. Cook,
Yeah.
give us some good news.
Since our last meeting, we've had a couple things going on campus. From the foundation, we had the Halloween parade put on by third grade. It's been nice to have some normalcy back in the year and have some events that we are used to that we couldn't participate in last year. So the students all loved it. They all got to dress up. A lot of parents came and watched. Teachers dressed up, and it was a fun day, a fun morning. We had parent conferences, and as always, we always have the majority, if not almost all of our families attend conferences, which is great. We had them virtual again this year, and they went well. So overall, like I said, I had 100% of my students, and I know the majority of us had nearly all of our students or parents attend parent conferences. So we went over report cards, the new iReady results, and then anything that the teacher decided to go over, but basically how their child was doing thus far. Then we had our jogathon, which was awesome. I'm sure everyone's going to talk about it. But again, it's a very organized event that we were excited. The kids were super excited. We were excited to participate in, and it was a fun morning outside on the turf. And then this week we had lunch provided from the first grade families, which we also always appreciate and are so thankful for. So yeah, the staff is excited for after Thanksgiving to see and truly meet Laura and see how that goes. And we're excited for the change that's coming. So yeah.
Thank you. Just a quick question on the virtual. How is that? Is it working out well? Do you
Virtual
think?
conferences.
Yeah. You think what? So as a parent, I've been doing them and I actually like them. It seems like a good use of time. Do you
Yeah.
think once we get out of the pandemic, that would be kind of a useful
I think
tool
so.
to
I
might
think
do a
it-
hybrid or something like that?
Yeah, I think, well, it helps from what I've heard parent schedules. They don't have to leave work if they are working. It's a quick phone call. But from our perspective as well, it seems to be going well. And last year they were successful. This year they were successful. And you can still communicate, pretty openly and pretty, easily. It's also nice that you can see everybody's face. You don't have to wear a mask. And so overall, yeah, I would say they're pretty successful. Yeah.
Sarah, going back for a minute to the idea of average daily attendance. When students are absent, are you having success in having them complete the contract work that
Yeah.
makes up for that?
Yeah, if they're absent for 3 or more days, then yes, students are able to get that contract. Mostly participate in the work.
Okay.
Is that a USC policy that if it's fewer than 3 days, it can opt you out?
Yeah, but that's still the case, right? Yeah.
If they're on the closed contract and it's for quarantine or isolation purposes, they can get a contract right away. And it'll be counted as ABA, as an independent contract.
Great. And then are you hearing anything socially, emotionally from the kids on vaccines?
I've heard quite a few students say that they're getting them. That's like kind of the talk of the week. I feel like kids are coming and they're like, well, I'm sore, their expressions. But yeah, it's all been positive. I haven't heard anything negative other than that students are getting them, so that's great news.
Thank you.
On the parent-teacher conferences, somewhere in the announcement, there was like a one-liner that I read about that students are encouraged to come to the conferences and maybe talk about this work. But I'm wondering, that's the first time I've seen that. Maybe I missed it in the past. I'm just wondering to what extent that's encouraged, where we're having more student-led parent-teacher conferences versus the teachers, giving out a bunch of stats and just sitting there not being at all.
Yeah, I think it's been based, well, it's been based solely on the teacher's perspective, moving, thus far. But so I have heard of student-led conferences for sure, and I know that a lot of them, or other teachers that I know do participate in them. I think our school is just kind of stuck with this parent and the students. Whenever a student does want to participate in mine, I always encourage it, but it's not something that they're leading as of right now. But it could be definitely something that we could discuss and see if we're interested in moving in that direction, or even teacher by teacher to see. But yeah.
I think in the past, I do remember in middle school. that
Yeah, I
we
think
did
in middle
person,
school it was.
That students were leading some of the conferences, but it was just in middle school.
I also had a question about iReady when and how that's going, because when Dr. Reed first introduced it to us, sort of prepped us by saying it only goes through 9th grade, so if your kid is testing out above that level, it's not really going to help you that much. So I personally, as the father of a 7th grader and a 2nd grader, I thought, okay, like for my 7th grader, that may or may not work out, and sure enough, like it seems like I'm not going to get any stats for him for a lot of things. He just is maxed out, and then apparently he reads for that time, which is fine. It's only 45 minutes a week or something, right? I was expecting to be able to follow my daughter who's in 2nd grade, but it says the same thing for her too. Apparently, like she's really middling in that, but in ELA, she's apparently like good enough to have somehow maxed out the system in 2nd grade. So now I'm not getting any, like I can't follow her
So
progress
she went
either.
through 9th grade and second, or she tested out of 9th grade.
No, I asked her teacher about it, and she said that apparently if you're testing at 5th grade level in 2nd grade, it won't give you anymore. It'll just say that you tested out and we won't get a score.
Interesting. That's the first I've heard of that, because from my perspective, she should be receiving the practice skills at her level, which would be in 5th grade.
Yeah. And that's what I thought too. Anyway.
That's
I was
how
just
my
wondering
students
how,
are,
like, how
so that's
your-
interesting, but I can look into that and we can look into her specifically and use that as kind of like a guide.
Is your experience with it, has it been positive though?
Yeah, it has. It has been very positive so far. I'm eager to see the results in the winter with all the practice that we've been doing in the meantime. But we'll see.
Okay.
So far, so good.
How about you guys? You guys like an iReady?
Yeah, I enjoy doing mine. Math, I think, is definitely, I'm definitely stronger in ELA. So math is definitely giving me what I need to be able to grow from what I'm doing. It's challenging me and it's working well. ELA though, on that note, it's stuff that could be helping me, but I don't feel like it's challenging me as much. I feel like I could do it very easily, and I just go through lessons and lessons within that 45 minutes, which should be taking me like 1 or 2 lessons when I can pass 3 the time I'm supposed to be doing.
How about you, Dash?
Um,
You don't have to tell us how you feel about that. How do you like it?
We want percentiles.
it helps you out understand what you're learning more,
Yeah.
but it is hard to get the 45 minutes of both class with all the homework and work you're getting. But it is a good tool.
It's demanding, but you like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. All right. Thank you, Ms. Cook. Any more questions? All right, Office Manager's Report, Natalie Hirsch.
So for enrollment, we are up a little bit. We are at 258. And we possibly have a new 2nd grader and a new 7th grader that will be joining us after the break. So that would bring us to 260. So a little closer to our 265 projected enrollment. Our ADA is running at about 95%, which is probably one of our lowest percentages that we've had, but it's mostly just due because of the COVID attendance that we have to do and that we have to follow. So that's what brings it down quite a bit, unfortunately. But just to kind of like reiterate, the independent contracts are available and they're there and they will help us kind of collect that EDA money. So I know like a lot of our families are planning trips and they're, you know, eager to go out and take their first vacations in a long time. So it's always just helpful to have that reminder that those contracts are available. You can do the work, you know, and submit it, and we'll get that EDA money. So it won't be an unexcused absence. Because if you don't do the independent contracts and you take a vacation, those are counted as unexcused absences, regardless of, you know, the reason for the vacation.
Alan, can I ask you a quick question on that? So maybe this is more Bob or Sarah. So if you have 4 or 5 students out of a classroom for COVID exposure, they've got to be out for a number of days. Do we automatically give them a homework contract, or can we reach out to the parents and say so?
We automatically give it to them.
Okay.
From there, though, it's up to the family and to get that work
And they
completed.
have 30 days to complete that.
Mhm.
Are we doing any follow-up, or are the teachers
We
reaching out?
have a whole tracking system where we're constantly in contact with
Okay.
them.
So does that work the same if a student is just sick otherwise? Or does it not?
Yeah, so
It's gotta be up
so
3
the
days,
state
right?
made it really easy for us to collect the ADA because of the quarantine and because of we're not offering the virtual instruction anymore. So essentially, if you're sick, if you're, you know, if you're just gone for a couple of days for whatever the reason, you can get an independent contract. As
Right.
long as that work is complete and we can verify that the work and the time spent on it is what it is, we can count it.
I'm just wondering because my daughter was out for a week last week because she had bronchitis. And did I miss the contract or the contract went in place and I just didn't know about?
You should have gotten an email or you should have reached out to from our new attendance clerk to get that set up.
I don't know.
So I'll follow up
I
with
don't
her.
think that I got it, but I know that she made up some work that Chelsea gave it to her. But I mean, you know, I'd be more than glad to sign whatever I needed to sign, but I just wasn't even aware that I should have signed something.
But maybe that brings up a larger point, which is that like, it's going to be difficult to claw that back if we're relying on parents to have educated themselves and then to go to the office to ask for these forms rather than having us like, have that be an opt-out rather than an opt-in.
Right, but I think the idea is that you guys are already doing that, but maybe something was missing because we weren't sure, obviously, how many days she was out. So that could be part of the reason why I didn't see that.
And I was just checking in because I had wondered about that. I know of at least 2 students who missed because of COVID exposure, both of which the parents are saying they never received anything about a homework contract or just FYI, so
Yeah, okay.
How much time do we have to
30
give those?
days.
30 days.
Yeah.
30 days?
Mine hasn't come close to.
It also takes time to create the packet from the teacher's perspective, so it's not something that I can know and then be like, okay, here you go, you know, because I have to also, if we're backtracking, you know, that's one thing, but then if you're planning ahead. So it does take a little bit of time on our end to make sure that it is getting put together.
Especially when you have several of your kids out at the same time. Yeah, it's
Right,
very
for different days.
time
yeah.
consuming for the teacher to
Right.
do it, but they all get it done. They do.
Is there any function of iChart that could kind of help us with this?
Of what?
Like iChart, something that we can kind of assign. It's not specifically what the rest of the class is doing, but it fulfills the quota and the instruction time needed to get the ADA. And it's beneficial for the kid because it's relevant to their progress.
I don't know, the only thing that I could think of would be iReady skills that like we wouldn't.
Already, sorry. not
Yeah, oh, okay, yeah.
iChart. Oh,
That's what
iReady, yeah,
I charge like.
yeah, I charged at the house, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I just
rating.
got- I just got a negative COVID result, so. It's on the line.
You can get that before you came in here?
Okay, iReady. Do we know, is there a function of that where,
I mean, there's always skills on iReady that they could work on. It's like, I don't have to assign anything. It's just an automatic pathway for each student. But I mean, to take the whole day, they would be working on their iReady skills for a significant amount of time, which might not be super successful if they're, you know what I mean?
Okay.
But it can definitely be some of it,
Mhm.
part of it.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And then, so moving on from the enrollment piece, on the food service side, I know that last month I had explained that we were going to go through the National School Lunch Program and get the federal reimbursement starting next year, and that we can backdate it, start as soon as like October. However, I ran into a bit of a setback because it looks like the school didn't apply for a health permit and a plan check when the school was opened. So we have to go through that process. And I reached out to the county and they have yet to get back to me. So I know that they're really backed up and it could be a while before I even hear back from them to get that scheduled. So the application process is on pause for right now. But hopefully we can see some of that money this year.
But Natalie, if they do that, let's say it gets done in January or February, will they back the money to October so we get a bigger
No.
check? It's just whenever you
It's
turn on.
just, yeah, it'll start the month that we are officially, so like if we would have been able to get everything turned in October, we would have been paid in October. We
Okay.
wouldn't have been able to go back like September and get that reimbursement back. It's just the month that we are actually onboarded. And then the second piece is that there has to be a dedicated food service director for that program.
Do you have a new title then, Natalie? Is that what you're saying?
No.
And then,
So real quick, the COVID application that we put in did not qualify as the health check permit from the county?
not that I was aware, not that I. can
No, I
see.
think what it
It's
is
separate.
it's like a,
County health.
it's like a,
The health permit
health
is
department,
specifically
like
for like
the,
food
like
services.
restaurants.
Whether
Okay.
you're, whether you have an operating cafeteria or whether you're serving, you're supposed to have a food service permit or food permit. And we couldn't find one for it.
and I'll tell you from having built a few restaurants, it takes forever. That is not a quick process to get this.
Yeah.
County people who come out and inspect, and then once they inspect, you never pass the first time. So
We'll see how that process goes. And then the budget, like Josh was saying, the Educator Effectiveness Grant, we did receive a small amount. It's about $9,000. But it's specifically for, it's for kind of instruction education strategies for certificate and classified educators for early childhood education, as well as English learners, access to mental health services, and social emotional learning. So a lot of those pieces I know that we're already working on, and we've done, we've implemented some of those strategies already. So we can use those funds for some of the items that we've already allocated out of our general budget, kind of piggyback on rather than creating new expenses. So that was, in my mind, what would be effective. And then in order for us to receive that money, it has to be presented on the agenda today, and then we have to have it board approved before December 31st. So there will have to be some sort of special board meeting to approve it, as well as the audit, because the audit was not done by tonight. We usually approve it in December. So those two items will need to be on a separate agenda.
What's the date, the deadline on the audit?
The deadline is, so I have a date of January that they're allowed to turn it in, but the district still wants us to turn it in by December 15th. So
And
that's
then
the district date.
okay. And then the other deadline? On the grant?
The grant, December 31st.
December 30th.
This, yeah,
30th.
30th, sorry.
Just quick chime in on that. It's actually $37,000.
Oh,
Yeah. I just looked at it just to double check. I could see where you might have thought 9,000 because it's not in the best, but it looks like it's actually $37,203. So you have 4 or 5 years to spend it. So
yeah. I think it was allocated like 9,000 over a couple of years, and maybe what I saw.
It doesn't look like it, but 37,000.
Awesome. Well, then 37,000.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else?
Oh, one more piece. We will start our new applications for new students already for next year. We're going to open up the new applications starting January 31st, and then we'll close them on April 4th. So that will put our lottery at April 29th. And then the re-enrollment for all of our current OTA students will be from April 4th through April 15th. And so those dates are for all of our current students, and you'll get some information in the coming weeks about that.
Well, thank you. I'll say this. You never realize who your MVP is until you're missing your star pitcher sometimes, some of your star players. And in the absence of Dr. Reed, you're always holding it down there, and you're being gone. I know you had something to do, and we can appreciate that, but you were sorely missed, and thank you for coming back so quickly. But you are certainly the administrative MVP around here. You're not too shabby, Mr. Ham, but Natalie is certainly holding it down for us. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, IT report. Mr. Capitello.
First things first, Mr. Chopper, thank you so much for letting us borrow the mesh. I was able to set it up to the room. And talking to Ms. Moore, a couple of weeks, she says that so far the internet's been good. And kids, when they're having issues logging in with our regular network, they log into the mesh one. And pretty much that's all what I have right now. Same thing, no ETA right now on the access points. And I'm just waiting on the Chromebooks that were approved for the order to be fulfilled on the district side. And that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you, sir. All right, real estate advisory panel. I think we'll just turn it over to Walker. I think at some point here, we have to recognize that the baton has been handed to Walker. And he's run so much further than I have already, so.
It's the hot potato. So the real estate advisory panel / committee now consists of Zach to participate as well, and literally anyone else in this room can participate as well. We had a meeting yesterday with San Diego Unified City Schools and our brokerage, which is our San Diego City School brokerage, which is Colliers, and just for a state of the union and an update on where things stand. We're location that I brought up either last meeting or perhaps 2 meetings ago that quasi optimistic about. There's still optimism, but there's a discrepancy in the asking versus the appraisal that came in. So there's a significant chasm between that we're trying to massage, trying to figure out if there's alternative ways in which we can get there. So that there's 2 paths right now. There's this path that we're trying to succeed in, and there's the other path, which is the long game of a letter writing campaign, following up with calls, networking amongst all of our friends, all of our acquaintances as well with it. I can say that the San Diego Unified, their head real estate director is motivated, invested in OTA, and he's empathetic and frustrated with how close we have gotten in multiple locations. Not only this location, another location down the road, the location I'm looking at right now. So I can see it, I can sense it. I know James has been dealing with him for a while as well, and he he has our best interest at hand. He has money in the bank for us as well. So it's just a matter of getting a parcel in San Diego that's quasi close, that's not, it doesn't make sense to call it OTA, that's not anywhere close as well. So that's kind of the state of where things are. And again, I'll throw out the bucket, raise my hand, ask for help as well around the room for the continual support from you guys, from your friends, if there are opportunities in and around San Diego. Zach and I did make it clear there was some frustration from OTA standpoint to San Diego Unified and Colliers, who is our brokerage, about the fact that we don't have more options right now. So they heard it loud and clear, and they are going to work for us, and we're going to continue to not only demonstrate what we have, but also ask them for more opportunities and see what they have as well for opportunities to look for some ready-made opportunities, ready-made options for us.
So what you're saying, if I understanding correctly, is that the parcel did not appraise.
Well, it appraised, but not at what the
That's what they're asking, that's what I'm-
Yeah. There was a significant discrepancy that we're trying to
figure out why.
go to the asking party
Of
and
course.
try to understand, try to work amongst. It's not a matter of, it's not a bank default, say Unified, the money that's already there from YY.
Right.
And significant amount of money, 40 million for us. So it's frustrating from the standpoint, like, we have all this money, and why can't we allocate more to the bid versus the build? And
But how, like, percentage wise, how much more is the asking over the appraisal? Like
it's
30%?
Yeah, like 25.
yeah.
So we're pushing.
It's not just a parcel, that's a build, it's an existing building. So they're appraising it
Yes.
based on its existing use, or it's,
Yeah, and what it would take to get it up to standard, which
Yeah.
they're kind of discounting it by that.
So, and up to standard is the part where it just falls apart, where it's just unbelievably, the expectations are unbelievable comparatively to what it would be from a rental, from a residential standpoint.
really talking like $1,000 a foot or something, like silly like that.
And I think I had the benefit of being a newbie in this situation. I've been kind of doing the groundwork behind the scenes more, and then being on that call and kind of poking at them a little bit. You could feel the frustration, but also to Walker's point, you can feel the motivation. Like they're frustrated. They're trying to figure it out. They're bound by the rules they have through the state and through the city, and they're playing within the parameters. And you're dealing with private developers. So,
And what was it? 175 square foot?
so we're exploring a couple of different avenues, both at that site, potentially another site, but I think just to echo Walker's comments, this is it. Like, we need to find a new site. That's I'm excited to have Laura on board and help kind of provide some energy there, but as much as wide a net as we can cast, as many people as want to get involved, we welcome it, and we'd love to come up with a couple other options out there as well.
Yeah.
Bolster our chances.
Yeah, and I mean, that's it. I mean, in a nutshell, it's the place that we're looking at, they were so motivated by was network, was one of Zach's values from a network option. So literally, like, and that's close, and we're still hopefully can resolve that. So while we have our brokerage out there working for us, if there's anything else, if there's populistic, if any of your other friends have it, we've got the money, which is
which is the motivating factor and the reassuring factor.
Does the property have to have like an existing structure on the land, or can it be like a piece of vacant property, or it could be anything?
It could be a tear down, it could be, that we're welcoming all options. And I'm not to sound the alarm, because again, we are still pursuing this. There's an opportunity to do another appraisal, an opportunity, just keep that dialogue going, but we want to have plan C, D, E, you want to be able to run it all out. As James well knows, you can get it really far down the road and have it fall apart at the last minute.
Is there an expiration on the YY funds?
I don't know. I can ask that.
This is like
report
the
back.
third year or fourth year that we're still looking for the property.
They-
I'm just curious if the grant ends and we
They
lose
had
the
a lot of
money, or
optimism around. There was no ticking time bomb. They're basically saying, hey, we've got this money. We are motivated. We're ready. The good news is, once we identify the right site, we can close quickly. So they were, you could feel that energy. They didn't say, hey, we've only got 2 years, but we'll do the due diligence and get that date.
And they understand that there is some sort of a perception between San Diego Unified and Charter, but he was also very upfront that this is allocated for charters, and he wants to make this happen for charters and specifically for OTA. So he was James has been working with him for a while, and he's understanding, he's motivated to help us out. So, with real estate, it's been a different animal in the last year to 2 years. And some of the strategies involved with thinking that certain business parks may shutter, and that might be opportunities. That hasn't been what the original strategy has laid out. So they're trying to pivot as well. So hopefully some better news next month. But I don't want to just give a rah-rah halftime speech. Just want to let you in on what we're dealing with right here, just so we're all in it together and trying to figure out some solutions for it as well.
And then to add to the real estate, this building is in the process of being sold. Our lease will be intact and is what it is. But that is happening, so people should be aware that that's going on. So we're starting to, we have plenty of time, but this deal, as we've always said, is extremely important to the school. Get this thing finished.
How long is the lease on this?
We have about 3 more school years. I think we're in our second of 5 school years.
And I think, when we met with Laura yesterday, she was actually wondering if there's anyone we can talk to possibly see if the owner of this building could discount some of, the rent. Is there any possibility on that front that we should explore? I mean, not to say that it was going to cut down half, but at least, even if it's 10%, over a year, it's, 1 month of rent.
I think we're gonna have a new landlord soon, so I think that's probably a good time to have.
We
that
didn't have
conversation.
anything.
I see. No, I mean, it was just something that Laura was wondering. So.
It's not by a lack of trying.
Right, no, I'm sure.
Cool. I think another thing he was asking about was Prop 39, which I don't think is something we would probably want to look into just based on how long the process would take. But the idea of going to SCUSD, who are, it is incumbent upon them to be able to find us a place if under Prop 39. Could be anywhere in the county, and
Yes.
Right,
And
and it also
it
takes a long
is. I
time.
mean, there's a complete public school down the street that is being used for administrative buildings and an internet school.
Mhm.
So that is always the start of my conversation with that real estate group. And the problem with Prop 39 is we ask for space, so they decide to give you space all over the county. So we'll give you 3 classrooms here, 3 classrooms here, 3 classrooms here, which obviously is not ideal, and it's not a solution to certainly this school's situation. So, but that is yeah, that's their answer to it. Now, that's not a good answer because there's certainly vacant schools out there and there's places and things that they can do, but they've decided to make a perfectly good grammar school down the street into administrative building. So if that gives you an indication on how much behind Prop 39 SDUSD is, they're checking a box, but they're not helping us.
Yeah, and again, just so you guys are fully in on everything under the hood, it's, we tasked Collier's Zillow with an overlay map with fault lines, pipelines, dispensaries, all the no-nos within a 7-mile parameter of OTA. And now, after we extensive exhaustive search, we're going to expand that a little bit more. And there's also some options where it was 1,500 feet from a pipeline, 1,500 feet from a fault line, that they are making concessions to lessen that a little bit and to still look at that search to find other options available for it as well. So glacial pace, but hopefully we where their letter writing campaigns or follow-up calls, all of these things that sound good, that Zach and I, quite frankly, were frustrated and kind of called them out on it. It's like, that sounds like a good talking point, but like, how many leads do you actually have? That we got met with a little bit of frustration. So there was some energy on the call that definitely helped out with getting past the talking points to understand that we were all trying to get the school, get the next location for this school, we're all on the same page for it. So
There's no doubt the SDUSD facility crew wants to get this going. I mean, that's their job. They make projects, they build schools and make projects. So I would say the energy is there, the motivation is there from that team. And we just gotta find the right place. And we'll hit it. It will click. It will be the right place. And we will get it.
and it's frustrating for me because I do business differently in the private sector, but I'm understanding it and I get it. And we'll lean on you guys too for moral support as I come check back in with you guys on where our status is and what our options are as well.
I've heard through the grapevine that that whole area, the Linda Vista area, due to the fact that the MTS station is going in there, a lot of that is going to be redeveloped in various ways, right? A lot of the big boxes are being sold to luxury apartment developers. The triangular block between Marina and Linda Vista is USD is trying to consolidate that to turn it into a college town. And there are some people who are holding out, basically like holding USD over the bucket, right? So I think that there's like a lot of speculation in that area right now.
I don't want to cut you off, but we've hit that up multiple times and we've been pushed back on with fault lines and pipelines as well. And Rose Canyon and different like the Navy fault line or pipeline overlays. So I'm learning a lot and it's frustrating to learn all about all the obstacles along it. But
I wasn't trying to recommend that area. I was just saying that if this candidate spot is near there, there's probably a lot of speculation that's driving up the prices over and above the area.
Cool. All right, moving on. Lynn DiFilippo, tell me how awesome was the job done?
Okay. Had my like PI brain on it. Wait, where is he talking about? Okay. Halloween. Ms. Cook talked a little bit about it. Great success. I thought it was like one of those great community events that kind of like, oh, we get to all be on campus safely. You know, school spirit. It was kind of like a breath of fresh air. I was going to add to it. I think parents and both teachers liked that Halloween was a half day. It just fell in that right end of quarter. No. Yeah. So if we could maybe make a mental note for next year when we're doing school calendar. Jogathon. So we, with sponsors, which we had a great, I don't know if you guys saw the back of Jogathon shirts, but we had lots of great sponsorships this year. So with monies raised and sponsorship monies, we are a little bit over 40 grand. We're doing Jogathon reconciliation tomorrow. So another successful Jogathon. Big thanks to first grade dad, Mark with Timing HQ. He donated all of his time and equipment, people, tracker system. That was huge for us. And he has a first grader, so we told him that he's got this for another 7 years, 8 years. So hopefully Jogathon should be running smoothly. It'll be like a plug and play event. And the Jogathon assembly is going to be this Friday. So get the word out to parents who want to stay for Friday flag, outstanding Osprey, drawing pole, and then a little Jogathon assembly. 8th grade sweatshirts will hopefully be here by Friday. I will personally hand those out.
Who was it designed by?
Liata. Sorry. Staff lunch was today after some postponement due to scheduling and COVID, but finally got your November lunch on the 17th. Sorry about that. But good luck, or you get your next one on December 1st, so only 2 weeks away. So 2nd grade will be providing that. I've been in contact with the room parent. She's all over it. So December 1st, Wednesday. And then another big thing to put on your calendar, December 3rd, middle school dance, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, building 177. Hollywood Glam is the theme. And
What was the date, Mike?
December 3rd, Friday. We're just not quite sure about time because we have to, unfortunately, because it's building 177, we can't have any food or drink because that requires a different deposit. And we don't know if we need security or not. So timing might affect that. So I don't have a time, unfortunately. And then we are in the works of planning the fall gala, and we're trying to kind of mimic the home and away event. So it's a little bit more casual, a little bit more family friendly, community friendly. We're working with a local restaurant group to provide the space, give us a kickback, same thing, and have a very small kind of successful auction where we can do something in the spring. I think that's it.
Hey, ma'am, I got a question.
Yes.
What's your sense of younger grade parent engagement? I know it's been tough in the last year or two with parents to get involved with community events and the normal way of networking and talking to folks like, you know, obviously there's some parents, myself and others here too, that have the younger grades as well, that are part of it, but do you sense there's some new blood, some new people raising their hand, or is there stuff that we need to do or to consider to get the next generation of parents involved?
I think that, this is going to be a big transition here. Myself,
Right.
Fundraising chair Kate, Vice President Kieran, or Courtney, and I think they're all turning over this year. So I don't know if I said it in here, but instead of making it at June, we're going to do it in January, our nomination, so that way we can mentor them for the next 6 months and kind of show them the OTA way, so to speak, so that we won't go in blind, you know, because the first of the school year comes really quick, really fast. You know, movie night, back to school night, getting those room parents up to snuff, and then Jogathon comes really fast. So we were hoping to have people come on board now to our meetings, and there's been few new parents, not a lot, maybe a handful, maybe like 4 or 5. But it's really the older parents and the families that have been here 3, 4, 5 years that kind of know how to OTA that I kind of lean on the most. So that's why we are trying to scale back the gala. It's a lot of work. And if there is really only 10 to 15 people doing it for the year, a much more, and then the jogathon being much more, really well run with that, with Mark and the Les team. But yeah, it's always kind of been a struggle with foundations.
Yeah, I think the January is a good idea.
Yeah.
And, while the volume might be there, not be there from the people that are looking into it, the quality hopefully is there. Grabbing a couple that can,
Right.
It's not up to you to look for the recruit the new ones, but hopefully that they're looking out, or we can have some sort of communication and some reason for them to step up and be a part of the school.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of our pieces, texting, that's, although it looks like it comes from the school, it's actually foundation. We hope that, so texting's been really on our side, especially for the half days and the, sneaking in, community events along with some school stuff, to keep them parent engagement and communications wide open. I think our new website, Edleo, will help a ton with that. And then just 2, I think, because kindergarten and now in first grade hasn't really seen a full year of OTA, what it looks like, feels like, hopefully by, spring, they'll be like, oh, this is what OTA is about. And then what I've been trying to do on foundation is maintain a consistency of let's have the same things go on kind of at the same time so parents are aware and oh wait, this is supposed to be coming up. So it's not so different every year. So so they can almost look forward to it. Jogathons, we thought about switching the whole jogathon and gala, and then we really took it back and was we are just going to mess parents up by doing that. That's not going to be great. And it actually worked out really well because of our time in HQ, first grade dad.
Yeah, it just takes someone like first grade dad to step up or whatever the case may be, because like the learning curve that was happening, there's going to be a engagement curve along those lines as well.
Right,
so.
exactly. Yeah.
Is there any problem maybe having social networking between the lower grades? With kinder, first and second, since those grades kind of really missed out on all of the OTA events because of COVID.
I sat down with
re-engage them.
I know. I sat down with them and because I remember what we did in the younger grades was kind of have end of the quarter, we used to all go to Soup Plantation after Jogathon. I mean, just all here at Soup Plantation at noon on a Friday, and or go once a quarter at the end of the quarter, we'd go to the park on Sunday, right? We used to do those kinds of things, which was much more of okay, let's sit and talk and really oh, what do you do and who are you and where do you live, that kind of thing, which is what I think we're missing, that piece. And so that's why it was so nice at Halloween to see parents and talk and get that community momentum going. The other talk was very briefly was something along the lines of an alumni association. There's been some parents that have exited OTA that very much miss OTA and still want to be involved on some sort of level. So I think we can capture some of that community and funds from that.
All right.
Something in the works along the line of that, whether it's a community alumni OTA membership or dinner or something, right?
I'm also just wondering, it's obviously not dumping it on the foundation. I'm also wondering, what are, I guess, our rules of using the school on the weekend? I mean, I think this is a broad question. Meaning, okay, I know I'm not really making sense much. If this is something that is doable, I would take it on myself as well as maybe whomever wants to help. I think that, would there be a possibility of us possibly, maybe doing a international potluck kind of a thing? To just do some community building, and maybe that would help contribute some, some energy to, the foundation and create a situation where they can gather and talk, and maybe that would help.
Yeah, that's perfectly possible.
What's our fire marshal code again on the field? Captain?
Oh, the number of people?
Yeah.
I think it's like 1,200.
Yeah, it's way over
As long
what
as
we
it
would
takes.
have, yeah.
Listen, whether that's the perfect idea or not, it's a great idea. right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's stuff that I think.
Even if we
along
meet
those
like
lines we
River
need to do.
Station Park, first Sunday of the month. You want to,
I
have
think
your TA for pull out and go come and,
yeah, for events, we always got event insurance when we had something here.
I mean, it's.
But it's a private building and then we own the lease and yeah, if there's something. then
I
we
know
can-
this was something
we
that,
can do it.
before Sydney graduated, she was hoping to. Maybe that was one of the platforms she ran on for the board position for students, and I know that it was something that she wanted to do. And then, of course, COVID hit and everything stopped.
And I think right now, if you're on campus, you gotta have a mask, so
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just saying,
Kinda
it's like
hinders it.
an annual event, it's like the movie night, it's like end of September. And maybe this is either right before or after the spring break kind of a thing, because you also don't want to, I guess, run into too terrible of weather. If we do it on one of the Saturday or Sunday, lunchtime-ish.
Yep, I think we'll move it along and we can take that to the foundation meeting for
Oh,
ideas and
no.
input. We're gonna, yeah.
I'm
we're
not
gonna
trying to
keep-
dump it on her.
No, absolutely. But you're welcome to go to the foundation. meeting. But yeah, we're gonna keep moving on down the road. What I will say, do you have anything more, Lynn?
no, I'm good, thank you.
What I will say is 40K from the Jogathon, that's great. That's awesome work and it's great to see the community getting together, contributing, and that's a very successful Jogathon. So I want to commend and celebrate that success. Great job. Thank you. And look forward to the events that are coming up. But let's keep moving. Interim principal report, Bob Hand. Yeah, 1 minute. No. It's a very small piece of paper. It's a very small piece of paper. in my defense.
We've had a good month here. We have a super staff that we all work together to make things happen, make good things happen here. We started the month out with the Halloween candy donations. Stand for Kids was blown away by all of the candy that our families sent in. It makes a big difference for those homeless kids. So the director, I think, did not go out on the website, or everybody got her message thanking the school. We had last Friday, the 12th, and we celebrated Veterans Day on the 12th. And we had two veterans from Aspire who came all over and spoke with the students. And I think it went over very well. Especially the first one was very articulate, and I think it touched all of us. So that went well. The visit by Laura yesterday was great. We got a lot done. We're on the same level. She and I are on a lot of things. She's very easy to work with. She's a very open person to person. She likes getting involved with other people, and her personality does great for that. I've given tours of the school to 3 families so far for kindergarten and first grade. They were very impressed with everything going on here and all that we have to offer compared to other schools that they've looked at. And all three of them came because of word of mouth from parents who are already here. So that's a good thing. I think a lot of the people who come to OTA come because of word of mouth from parents who are already here. So keep it up. Okay, thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you, Mr. Ham. And I would certainly be remiss if I moved on and did not thank you for your service. Every time we have a little crisis or need and we gotta put another finger in the dam, you're always there, sir. And it is a huge help. You do just a great job here to kind of help keeping us moving along, and your dedication to this place is commendable and inspiring, and thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, let's move it on to new business. We're gonna find, sorry, one more
We
time.
didn't have a student report.
Oh, we didn't. Oh, my goodness, it's not on it. All right, let's go. Student report. That was a Scrivener's error, and we're just gonna add it to the agenda.
Okay, so when Dr. Reed left, he didn't give us very much information on how to continue our student rep meetings. So we have been holding them ourselves in the conference room upstairs, and they have been going very well, actually. We're all discussing any concerns that we have within our own classes and just talking about it and seeing if there's anything we thought we could do, and then bringing it up with a teacher or Mr. Ham or anyone who we thought could help. So those have been going very well. We've had 2 since he's been gone. Some of the concerns that they have had is one of our elected options is music, but it's only 30 minutes instead of a full hour. And the rest of the elective classes are an hour. So they have to come sit down in whatever other class, whatever their homeroom class is, and just hang out there for the other half of the hour. Because Mr. Pachano has a class with the younger grades, one of the younger grades. So that was a rising issue, just that they don't get their full time for elective, and it was just kind of frustrating. Another thing is we have a bunch of trash on the field, or just food or whatever from when we go down for lunch. Middle school is the last section of people to go down, and it's just always dirty, and there's just a bunch of trash everywhere. And then the team sports elective actually eventually has to end up picking it up themselves before we start, because we're right after lunch. And so that was just an issue. So they were suggesting maybe we do like little sections of kids from our class just to take a couple minutes out, like maybe 5 minutes, just go around the field after lunch and pick up trash, whatever we think could help. Just because also after team sports, one of the middle school grades has PE. So like today I was doing my sit-ups and there was a bunch of cracker crumbs surrounding me. So it's not the most comfortable thing.
Thank you. On the upstairs bathroom, there is like loose electrical wires by the door. And a couple like 3rd graders brought it up to me in the rep meeting. And I checked it out, and it could like scratch you where it's not safe, I don't think. So they wanted that fixed. A lot of balls have been going over the fence, and the younger grades, their students can go under the fence without any guidance. And a couple people have been seeing people jump over or go under the fence without any assistance from Coach Kalaki. And the passing periods are still 3 minutes, and the teachers are still ending their classes into our passing period, which is hard for us too. I thought we could cut down the elective time, or our homeroom time is very long, and we end up just having class for an hour 20 instead of an hour. So I think we could do that.
All right. Well, thank you. I think those are all good things, and we'll work with the board, Mr. Ham, and then certainly the new principal to kind of address those issues right away. I'll follow up with an email with Mr. Ham and see what we can do. Put some check boxes out there and see what we can do to kind of address some of that stuff. Get after it for you guys for sure. That's all super reasonable and stuff we can fix right away. So it sounds great. Thank you.
In terms of the passing period, I would say that maybe one of the reasons that we didn't address it in the interim is that Dr. Reed was said he would address it, right? But then obviously could not. So
Yeah.
we're playing catch up here.
And I'm also recommending maybe having the teachers of especially the lower grades to send out some emails to their parents to address, maybe letting the parents know to talk to their students to not leave trash on the field. Yes, yesterday, even when Laura was visiting, there was a bag of chips that I personally picked up, like all over the field. As well as in that same email, maybe we could also address that some of the, I don't know how we can put it delicately, but some of the lower grades students definitely during their recess that they almost purposely kick the ball outside. I have been around when that happened. And they basically, it's kind of a game that they want to play. And back in the days, Dr. Reed and even Coach Black, they simply just go outside. But I feel like it is something that we should address because it is a safety issue. And sometimes cars, not flying by, but still, some even some nice bystander, and they pick up the ball and toss it back, and it becomes kind of a game for them. But I feel like it's not just we're nice about it and we pick them up, but rather they should talk that this is not a behavior for the safety of even the adults.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. We'll move on to new business. We already approved first interim. We're punting 5A to next. The board meeting minutes. So we got a couple sets of minutes here, right?
My only comment is on the minutes from Wednesday, October 27th. The name of our new principal is incorrect.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Can we fix that? Crystal there?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I caught that.
October 27th. Perfect.
Not good.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Excellent. Is that the only, so we'll just, we'll go with October 27, October 20, and October 22. A motion to approve the minutes with one edit on the October 27th.
I'll move with the edit.
Okay. Second? Second. Excellent. Do a further edit?
Nope.
Okay, we're gonna call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? We're gonna go with Walker vacant, so we'll put him as an abstention. And motion carries. Thank you. And the check register. Do you have any questions on the check register?
But it's not some, so obviously this roll-up gate maintenance, it's just, that was probably just the fee that they came and took a look, right? Because they clearly didn't.
They did not fix it. We have a plan to fix it.
Right, so that is just for them to have come out and initially do a assessment.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have a plan to fix it. The actual physical gate was fixed. Now we're waiting on a new mechanism. We're hoping to get it done this weekend or over the break is ideal, but getting materials and things like that is definitely a chore.
I noticed that the Ed Leo payment is included on this. What's the status of Ed Leo implementation?
Sorry, what was that again?
I noticed that the Ed Leo payment is on this check register for the annual fee, and I'm wondering what the status of implementation of Ed Leo.
Right now, it's on, we're just filling in the skeletons, like Dr. Reed mentioned on his last board meeting. And I'm also waiting to see when we're gonna have the committee started with the people that are gonna be involved. In order for us to start making adjustments. So right now, all I'm doing is just copying the data from the old to our current website to a spreadsheet. So once I give that to them, they're the ones that are gonna implement it. And then give us an option to do our final revision before it's actually live. Another thing is also still pending is the SIS, the Synergy, if we are gonna go with them or not. So in order for our lottery and the power school that we have currently right now, also be part of the website. So that's something that I would imagine I'm gonna have to talk to Ms. Laura when she starts on the 29th.
Okay.
I was not aware of it. Really just giving me information right now.
All right. Any more questions on the check registry?
I move we approve the check.
I had a quick question. With the cybersecurity, is that an annual, monthly, what's the deal with that for Borderland?
Christian,
Yes.
Sorry, is
cybersecurity,
that an annual subscription, monthly with?
ESET. We're talking about the ESET,
yes.
The Borderland, yeah, the ESET, yeah.
yeah, that's actually basically what it is. It's a software like for antivirus.
But is the fee,
How often do we get it?
It's a yearly one.
Last little thing is just, I don't remember the monthly janitorial services in the past being split into two, and I'm just wondering. if
So
anybody-
one's our night service and one's our day porter.
Oh, okay, so they're always split.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
But it's both Pablo.
Yeah.
Deserve
One
all the
person.
kudos.
Right. All right, we had a motion. Do we have a second, Zach? A second. All right, I'm gonna call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we're gonna approve unanimous. All right, folks, we're gonna go into closed session. I want to thank the student representatives. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that.